So, as you know, I believe at this moment, you know that I am Reverend Catherine McClelland. I am coming to you from freezing cold California this morning. So, I thank you all again for being here. And as you might have read in your bulletin, my talk this week is about Two Roads Diverge. I've always loved that Robert Frost poem. I think it was Diverged, or The Road Not Taken. And I just came to me to contrast this two ways that possible paths to creation in our lives and making our lives work today. So one of the things we love to talk about is the purity of imagination and a future of free will fueled by divine inspiration, consciousness of spiritual power. Simple and direct. And then the other choice that we make sometimes, which is the cloud of hallucination, a future sourced from survival and chained to the past. So when I was thinking about these things today, one of the group of words that came together as a sentence for me was how to get everything you want, which I thought was kind of a fun way to start. So to begin this morning, I just wanted to take a moment away with and all of you and just take a look around the room and take you all in. Thank you for being here. It's such my great pleasure to be with you, to be part of doing this service today and holding the high watch with the practitioners. And I couldn't be more pleased. Thank you so much for being here to share in this time together. So I wanted to define imagination and hallucination. So hallucination is sort of what comes to us from the process of the conditioning of our lives. It comes to us from circumstance. If we pay too much attention to what's in front of us in the quote unquote, this world reality, we start to believe things and think things that are not true. We start to think that the conditions of today are created, as always, in a pattern that's held and that there's nothing we can do to change it. We start to believe that what we see is all there is and it's all we're ever going to get. And for most of us, that doesn't seem like a very hopeful or joyful way to live, because those things can change and put us in situations that if we don't have a way to lift ourselves out of or another way to become more than that, then we simply are just what we are today. And we all know, those of us who are gathered here, that there's much, much more to life than that. And so imagination is a real thing. We call it the imaginal realm when we're really working with it. We bring it into consciousness because it's actually based in truth. It's based in truth that is beyond the circumstances, because we know that all the circumstances that we see today are created out of whatever was in the consciousness of those creating it yesterday. There was this beautiful Indian man in my life, some form of guru who came in my life for a while. And he was part of the oneness movement, Diksha givers. And at some moment when we were praying together, I had asked him some question. And he just looked at me very blankly, stared me straight in the eye. And he said, there is no need for psychics. What you are doing today is your life tomorrow. And I really got it deeply from him. It was quite a beautiful communication and transmission, much deeper than the words themselves would suggest. So based in this truth, we know the truth to be that we're connected to a divine source, and we have an intelligence, a capacities, abilities way beyond what's here in our local selves, in our local mind, in our consciousness that we were given from the animal world. And now we have the chance to lift above that, to live in love, to invite ourselves into a whole new reality. And so to share with you about that this morning, I'm going to tell on myself. I'm going to tell a couple stories in my life. And if you wonder why I do that, it's because it gives me complete freedom to be completely authentic and revealed. If I was telling someone else's story, I would have to be sort of telling things or hiding things or not wanting to make it sound like maybe I was having any interpretation of their life. So I tell you stories from my life, just so you know that. And I will be telling you the truth, I promise. So in our hallucination state, or the state where we're believing the circumstances of life, we find ourselves in a nervous system that gets triggered very frequently into tension and fear. And this is really the normal awareness of human beings, the belief for those living in a normal human reality, ordinary awareness, ordinary life, essentially surviving in the human condition. So through conditioning, through the thoughts of the people around us and the thoughts of the world around us and the circumstances that we can see, we can get grounded in a reality that is not truth. It is just simply what has come from what was believed by those creating, including ourselves today. That is not easy to know when you're young. It's not easy to know when you're growing up and people are not necessarily full of a different kind of consciousness. So for me, I grew up in the Middle East, and I think now you know that. I was one of twin daughters and 3 other sibling boys, older, a family of an American diplomat. And we lived in most of the countries in the Middle East. And while this country changed and the people changed, the circumstances didn't change very much. It wasn't a very safe environment. We were, in fact, Americans trying to make our impact on their world. And in some cases, that was not well appreciated. So we often had guards around our homes. We had people carrying machine guns around us. We had high walls we lived behind. We had bodyguards. We had drivers. We were sequestered. We were kept away, except now and then when we were allowed to do things like go to school. But even then, we had a little bit of a distant life from everybody else, and certainly the normal day-to-day life of people in the countries we lived in. So although we were kept far away from those things, in many cases, we were deeply affected by them. Fairly frequently, there would be coups, revolutions, tanks, bombs, and the like, literally in our lives. Our houses would shake, tanks would roll down our streets. And what's very strange about tanks when they roll down your street is they leave marks because they're so heavy. So I lived in this world of where my safety was being ensured by guns and tanks and bombs and things like that. And yet never, ever, ever did I feel safe. Never felt safe by those things. So one time, mostly we were not the ones being attacked, so we were okay. And except at one time in 1967, the tide turned and we were in Baghdad, and the people decided the Americans were not on their side anymore, and the embassy was attacked. So women and children were sent out of the country in the middle of the night on buses with no protection at all. They just put us on buses and they said, get out of here so we know you're safe. So safety was 18 hours away through the mountains of Iraq and Iran. Iran was an American friend at that time when the Shah was in power. And so we knew if we could get there, we could be safe. And the men and the Marines stayed behind and had to take care of burning all the documents, making sure no secrets of the US government were traded as the embassy was taken over. As you can imagine, this is a pretty startling event. I was 6 years old. We were able to take 3 changes of clothes with us, and off we went. It was quite an experience and quite a moment of seeing the circumstances of life and feeling at the effect of what was happening around us. How could life not be scary with all these messages? With all these messages that I was living and I was learning, how would life not be scary? Well, as it turned out, life was very scary for me and for many of us. And I'm not at all insinuating that you need to be transported on buses in the middle of the night, 18 hours to another country, to have that sensation that your life is not safe. Many, many of us growing up, even if we have perfectly safe homes, will encounter bullies at school or people who will hurt us in one way or another. And it's easy, very, very easy to get lost in this idea that we are not safe, that we are here to fight or run. We get stuck in a hypersympathetic nervous system And even my son, who grew up in this tiny little town, I found out his beautiful alternative school was playing a game called Predator Prey one day at school. I thought, that is not what I have in mind for my child to know as the way of life. So in that way, we become people who are living in a human experience, one that is directed by an amygdala and one that is based in our survival. We become very single focused into making sure that we survive. We lose all sense of truth. We lose all sense of our combined oneness. We lose all sense of what is possible when we look beyond that. In prayer, we tend to fall backwards into supplication, pleading for the end of our conditions and praying for someone or something to come along and change things because we are powerless. We need something we don't have. And we're working in a system that's based in the past. Someone more powerful from us is going to have to fix this because we can't. We become the product of our upbringing, of cultural beliefs, of cultural conditioning, and of our thoughts that begin to harmonize with those. Driven by scarcity and fear and limiting thoughts, we work hard and get up tomorrow and do it again. So I thought maybe for a moment, we would take a moment and think about the underlying beliefs and the subjective experience that we have when we are having those kinds of experiences, when we're believing the hallucination that life is only tomorrow what it was yesterday and could possibly be today. When we believe that, what do we believe? And so I ask you, as I read through these beliefs that I will share with you right now, to take a moment and think to yourself, do I think like this? Now, I'm telling on myself because I'm telling you, I do think like this. And while we all want to think in the most powerful ways, we want to believe that everything is always operating for our highest good. We want to remember that love permeates all. We want to remember to keep the high watch. We want to remember that we are powerful beyond measure. We sometimes, or should I say frequently, often forget. And I think it's documented that 1,000 times a day, our mind will take us into a place where we feel some kind of threat and we respond with scarcity, fear, doubt, worry, instead of the knowing of who we are and the wholeness and the beauty that we are. So, as I say these statements, if it occurs for you to want to do this, please feel free to raise your hand if you've ever had a thought like this that you may have created with in your life. This is the creation that comes from the hallucination that we are bound by the conditions of this moment today until we choose differently. So now, as I say these, feel free to either, put a hand up in the chat or hand up on your screen or whatever, or not at all, and just let it flow through you. But I know I can claim for myself that all of these have been true for me at one time or another, possibly an hour ago, or maybe next week. My safety is outside of me. I have to get it from somewhere or something else. There are threats all around me. I must protect myself. God is outside of me, and if I am good enough, may show up and be gracious enough to protect me or keep me safe. But I better not piss him off. I feel stuck and can only think in either or, black and white thinking, good, bad, right, wrong. My creativity has run dry. I cannot change this thing. My relationships are stressed. No one loves me. I have to be perfect to be loved. I feel empty and alone. I feel powerless with all that is going on around me. I have to get what I need from others, and I don't know how. I have to take what I deserve. I have pain of the past that I can't let go of yet, or maybe never. I may never be able to forgive. I have to control everything, or I won't be able to get my needs met. I can see what's going to happen because I can see it today. Nothing else is possible. What I see is a reality where I have no idea how we are going to get out of this mess. And I do not think I am part of the solution. I have to plan and strategize to get anywhere in life. It's a long, hard slog. I'm stuck in the life that I have now. There is no way for me to change the things I want to change. It will be like this always. If you have ever felt any of those things, you are one of us. You are human. You are part of everything that is happening on this planet today. We are all in this mindset, on and off in our lives. And I thank you all for participating in seeing and owning the truth of some of these mindsets that can get stuck inside us and take hold. And then we struggle to come back. And so that's why we have things like church. That's why we have people in our lives like practitioners. That's why we have prayer, is to remember. Our first job is to reach out and ask someone to help. For me, it was late into my 20s. The first time somebody offered me this kind of a vision of, not this kind of vision, the newer vision of what's possible in the reality of love. And it changed my life in an instant. And then I went back. I thought I would never go back. I thought I was changed forever. Life had changed. I'd had my spiritual experience. Everything was perfect. Except, of course, I went back over and over. When I get afraid, when something happens, when I can see in my current reality that some circumstance is truly happening, then I get afraid. Then I need my help. Then I needed other people. Like a child, I first needed to be carried. I needed to go and ask people to help me and to help me remember. And believe me, I still do. There are plenty of times when, like a child, I need to ask people to come help me. They have to carry me sometimes. When loss strikes me, when illness strikes, when something happens that I do not expect and do not feel is good for my life, I have to go find someone to come to me and help me. But then I decided I actually really wanted to be able to do the work myself. I really, really, really wanted to have the power in my own hands. So I eventually made my way out of my current circumstances that were keeping me in a conditioning context that made it so hard for me to remember every day that things could be different for me, that life could be different. And so I eventually found my way out of that and found my way to California, found my way to a spiritual psychology program that just lifted me and held me for years, in a program that I could find my way into the words of truth daily. And my life began to be miraculous. I started studying the Course in Miracles also, and I joined Agape LA. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I had never seen 5,000 to 10,000 people gathered and pushing and shoving each other to get into meditation because we were all waiting to be holy. With a big heart, though, we found our way. This was the joy of my life. And I was able to find this place where I could land on the truth beyond circumstance. I could change the circumstances of my life. I could find myself out of this grip of fear that was so hard and so painful. And suddenly, in the joy of life, within an instant. And I didn't always need to have somebody else find it for me. Now, believe me, I still, on many days, need someone to help me find it again. And so maybe do you. Those of us, when we get caught in our worries about our lives, our finances, all of these things, our illness, our state of health, our state of our country, our state of the world, we can look at the circumstances of Friday night, of all the states that were hit by those massive tornadoes. Our hearts go out so deeply to those in Kentucky where most of the lives seem to have been lost, but the devastation is across 6 states. We will feel the effects of this in our bodies, but will we let it take our power? Will we show up for these people in prayer, in love, holding the high watch, knowing they have the power? We will rebuild. We will come through this, and that everything is always operating for the highest good. Can we shift the mindset that is stuck in our amygdala, in our adrenalized system, that keeps us from feeling powerful and strong? We shift. We come into connection and communion. We use treatment in this religious science way. We use affirmative prayer. First things first. Remember truth. Let it flood your consciousness. When you become someone who is committed to this higher watch, this higher sense of what's possible, you can release everything that has gone before. Your normal awareness, instead of being constricted, contracted, and fear-based, now is expanded. When you use the spiritual lens in your life to look at your life through, to look at all life through, to look at the continuation and the loss of life through, when you use the spiritual lens, your normal everyday awareness lifts into a higher place of truth. We're not saying that circumstances don't happen. They certainly do. We're not saying that circumstances aren't here based in reality. We are saying that you have a truth beyond that lives in you, that gives you the peace and the ability to transform your experience, whether or not conditions change. We all pray. We all want the change of conditions to the way in which we would like them to be. But that is not always the way of spirit. So we do our best to impress upon the world the greater space of all life, that which we want. And we allow the truth that changes us from within to be real. And so with Science of Mind, with New Thought, with all these beautiful accompanying songs and choruses of angels, what arises behind the steps of spiritual mind treatment, of recognition, of unification with this beautiful power, realization of truth, with thanksgiving, with the deepest gratitude, and release in the knowing that all is here and now available to our prayer. We have an extraordinary awareness. In each moment, we see this for an extraordinary life. We change the nervous system. We rest and restore. We calm. We access a higher intelligence, higher capacities, higher love, higher purpose. And our prayer is affirmative. And so now I invite you to look into the underlying beliefs, the truth based in a felt sense of spiritual truth, immovable, unchanging, one truth. These beliefs arise naturally with my presence, with spirit, God, and divine intelligence. These beliefs, and now I invite you to take a moment to allow these things to flow through you and raise your hand if these thoughts live in you. As we begin, I release any tribal, religious, or family beliefs that no longer serve me. I choose my beliefs and know that I connect and I am free and safe and held in the arms of a loving universe. I am safe. Thank you. I am highly creative. As I sense my connection to divine presence, to myself, others, and the natural world, I am balanced in my aloneness as well in my joining. I am connected, creative, and alive. I am powerful and full of love. I connect to that which is one with me. I know myself to be strong, powerful, capable, loving, compassionate, and blessed. I share myself in the world and I am supported by my being of my highest self. I am patient and kind with the parts of me and others when our stuff gets triggered. I am power. I am love. I have done my healing work and I can release and let go of my past. I am allowing all that no longer serves me to dissolve and see that everything that has ever entered my world has been a gift to me. My spiritual journey is enhanced by my experiences, and I can let go of old anger and hurts and expand in love again. I am grateful. I am surrendered to the will of God, which is one with me. I am not separate from God, and I am so in alignment with that truth. I listen and hear that which guides me, and I am open and receptive to that which draws me forward. I am guided. I see current circumstances and know that their origin is in the past. I know that everything here today was created yesterday or in the moment before now. And so I look beyond circumstance to a holy light, the vision of what guides me, my intuition, and my way ahead. In this moment, I see with the eyes of tomorrow, letting go of anything that did not serve me today. I now create from this purity a vision, that which will be my future. I am intuition and vision. I am held in the pure possibility of the universe beyond limitation of any kind. I reach into the field and magnetize with full awareness that which I imagine in my life. Right conditions, health, abundance, wholeness, peace, joy, compassion, love. I am filled with light and love, seeing clearly that which is coming to me from my wholeness and love in the field of divine intelligence is already here. I am possibility. This morning, I invite you to consider that this is the promise of Christmas. We are led to our wholeness by the star in the sky. Lift up our eyes beyond circumstance and see the vision through the veil, through the clouds. The sun is always shining. Our vision is always clear. And so I ask you, if you have not yet or not currently, maybe you would like to close your eyes. You don't need to. And just listen to these words. There is a power greater than I am. I do realize that I can use it. There is nothing in me that can deny or doubt or limit this power. My whole being accepts it, both consciously and unconsciously. From Ernest Holmes, from The Science of Mind. We must believe that God is love, infinite, eternal, and ever present. We cannot escape love. We exist in love. We are one with it. We live by, through, and in it. It motivates our entire thought process, plan, and action. Everything we see with the eyes of love. Everything we hear with the ears of love. We see God everywhere. Wherever we look, we see it. Wherever we go, we find it. It is within this consciousness that we make room for miracles in our lives. I bless each and every one of you today as we are joined in this space, in this loving, in this season of light, as we bring this consciousness into our lives and see everything for the beauty and love that it is. As we look beyond circumstance, we turn to ourselves, we turn inward into the divine connection that holds us. We turn towards each other for inspiration and care and love and the reminders that we need to live in this holy space. We turn to the natural world and we allow ourselves to breathe in all that is there, all of the givingness. And we open ourselves in one of the most generous activities of life, our willingness to receive. And so from this place, we simply allow truth to guide us, wholeness to live within us, and the power and the beauty and the light of God, infinite intelligence, spirit, the field of love. Hold us all today as we step into and through this season of light. Let us remember this. Let us be called into our highest. Let us touch this and create moment to moment the most beautiful lives for us, for everyone else on this planet, as we harmonize beauty, love, joy, compassion, kindness, care, passion, power, confidence, grace, peace, love. And so it is. Just take a moment to allow this to be here in the truth of this day. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your love. And so it is. And I invite you all to gently bring yourselves back if you have your eyes closed, if you find yourself in a little bit of an alternate reality as you come back. Remember, you're bringing it with you. Don't leave it behind. So look in the faces of everyone that we are with and notice the light that is reflected back to you, through each other, through the wholeness that we all are. Bless you, bless you, bless you for your service, of your willingness to lift your consciousness and be of service to this world. As each and every moment we do that, we are the light of the world.